You just got home, the door clicks shut behind you, and before you've even taken your shoes off, you feel it. That heavy, bone-deep exhaustion, like something was quietly draining out of you the entire time you were out there. And the strange part, the part that makes you feel like something's wrong with you, is that nothing bad happened. Nobody was cruel. It was a normal day, normal people, normal conversations. So why do you feel like you just ran a marathon in a body that never moved? Here's the first thing I need you to hear, because you've probably been carrying the wrong explanation for years. You are not lazy, and you are not broken. What you're feeling has a real name and a real mechanism behind it, and once you understand it, you'll never see your own tiredness the same way again. Let me show you what's actually happening inside you when you're around people. Most of us imagine socializing as something that just happens. You show up, you talk, you go home. Effortless. But for some people, that's not how it works at all. Underneath every ordinary interaction, their brain is running an enormous amount of hidden labor. Reading the other person's tone, scanning their face for micro-expressions, calculating what to say next and how it'll land, and whether that last thing came out wrong. Monitoring their own voice, their own posture, the length of a pause. Managing the gap between what they feel and what they're allowed to show. None of this is visible. From the outside, you're just having a chat. But inside, you're running a full-time surveillance operation on yourself and everyone around you, and it never once turns off. That is what's draining you, not the people, the processing. Psychologists have a phrase that captures a big piece of this: emotional labor. It's the invisible work of managing feelings, yours and other people's, to keep an interaction smooth. And here's the cruel twist. The people who are best at it are usually the ones who suffer most from it. Because if you're the warm one, the perceptive one, the one who always seems to know what everyone needs, that skill isn't free. Every ounce of attention you spend tuning into other people is an ounce drawn out of you. You are, quietly, subsidizing the comfort of every room you walk into, and nobody sees the bill except you, later, alone, with your shoes still on. Now, stay with me, because there's a deeper layer under this, and it explains why some people feel it so much more intensely than others. For a lot of people who feel wiped out by socializing, the exhaustion isn't just from reading the room, it's from performing in it. Somewhere in your history, you learned that the real you needed a bit of editing to be accepted. So you built a slightly smoother version to send out into the world, a little more agreeable, a little more composed, a little more on than you actually feel. And holding that version up, hour after hour, is like flexing a muscle you're not allowed to relax. Of course you're tired. You didn't just spend the evening with people. You spent it maintaining a version of yourself for them. And this is why, pay attention here, because this next thing is the clue that confirms it. This is exactly why you can be around certain rare people and feel energized instead of drained. You know the ones. The friend where the silences aren't awkward. The person you don't have to perform for. With them, the surveillance system powers down. The editing stops. You're just there, as you are, and somehow you leave feeling fuller than when you arrived. That contrast is the proof. If people themselves were the problem, everyone would drain you equally. They don't. What drains you isn't company. It's the effort of being a managed, monitored, edited version of yourself. Remove the effort, and the tiredness vanishes. So let me ask you something, and really sit with it before we go on. When was the last time you were around another human being and didn't have to manage a single thing? If you had to think hard to remember, that's not a small detail, that's the whole diagnosis. Now here's where I want to be honest with you, because a lot of videos would stop at, "You're an introvert, protect your energy, congratulations." And that's only half true, and the missing half is the part that actually helps. Yes, some of this is simply how you're wired, and there's nothing to fix. Some brains genuinely process social input more deeply and need more recovery, full stop. That part deserves acceptance, not a cure. But some of it, and I say this as someone in your corner, some of it is a habit you can actually loosen. Because a portion of that exhaustion isn't sensitivity, it's hypervigilance. It's the constant background fear that if you stop managing every detail, something will go wrong. You'll be judged, you'll be disliked, you'll be exposed. And that fear is doing a huge amount of the draining. It's not the socializing that's heavy. It's the bracing, the quiet, all-day flinch, waiting for a disapproval that, most of the time, never even comes. And here's the freeing thing about that. Wiring, you accept, but bracing, you can slowly put down. So what do you actually do with all this? Let me give you something real, not just comfort. First, stop apologizing for the recovery time. Your need to be alone after being social is not antisocial, and it's not a flaw. It's a battery recharging. The most emotionally intelligent thing you can do is build that recovery into your life on purpose, before you're depleted, instead of collapsing into it after you've run yourself dry. Protecting that space isn't selfish, it's maintenance. But second, and this is the harder, more important one, start experimenting with letting the edited version slip, just a little. In the safest relationship you have, try saying the slightly less polished thing. Let one silence sit without rushing to fill it. Show up as 90% you instead of the flawless 110 you usually perform, and watch what happens, because almost always, the world doesn't punish you the way your nervous system swore it would. And every time you get away with being a little more real, the bracing loosens its grip, and the exhaustion gets a little lighter. Not because you socialized less, because you finally stopped guarding so hard while you did it. That's the path. Not avoid people forever, not you're just built to be tired. But accept the part that's wiring and gently, patiently dismantle the part that's fear. Because here's the life on the other side of that, and I want you to be able to picture it. A life where you can be around people and stay inside your own body the whole time. Where connection costs you something reasonable instead of everything you have. Where you come home and the first feeling isn't collapse, it's just an ordinary quiet. That's not a fantasy. That's what's waiting when you stop bracing for a judgment that was mostly in your own head all along. So before you go, tell me honestly in the comments, after being around people, do you come home feeling drained or feeling free? Because your answer to that one question tells you almost everything about which relationships in your life are actually yours, and which ones you've just been performing for. You were never too much, and you were never too tired. You were just carrying an invisible weight nobody told you you were allowed to put down. Consider this your permission.